Hello and welcome back to the Linux Panic YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to go over 20 tips and tricks for Linux you might not know that could help you in your daily using of Linux. But first, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'd like to apologise for no video last week. I had no internet at the time. I'll make up for that this week. So first off, let's get logged in. I am using the Nginx virtual machine that I used in a previous video. I'll leave a card in the top right hand corner for you to go look at that video. So tip number 1, how to see an IP address. Now, as we can see here on Ubuntu, it shows us the IP address whenever we log in. Most variations of Linux will do this. But for example, let's just say, oh, it doesn't do this. So we've forgot the IP address. We don't want to go through the hassle of logging out and logging back in again. Can't be bothered. We have two ways of doing this. We have IPA, which will show you the various connections you have running at the minute. So I have a loopback. Most Linux operating systems will have a loopback. And the Ethernet. Now, because it's a virtual machine, it's a virtual Ethernet. So as we can see, it's link ether. It shows me the MAC address. It shows me the IP6 and then the IP4. The IP4 ends with .77. But we don't want all this verbose information. We just want plain and simple. So we use ifconfig. And we get it nice and easy. It shows us the packets it's sent. It shows what it's done, the data. As we can see, I received 453.7 megabytes worth of data since turning on this virtual machine. So yeah, this is how to check an IP address. Tip number 2, how to copy a file. Let's get rid of this first. So we want to copy a file. Okay, now what files do we have in the base directory? We have the hello file. So why don't we move the hello file somewhere else? Why don't we just copy it? Give it a different name. So to do that, we just do copy, hello, let's call it goodbye. Goodbye. Problem solved. Tip number 3, how to download files from GitHub. Now, this is a very well-known one, but it's always nice to have a little refresher. So to download files from GitHub, we need to have Git installed. Now, most Linux variations should come with Git installed, but if they don't, you'll just have to do a quick Google. But for the sake of Debian-based operating systems, it is sudo apt get git. It sounds strange, I know. So for this, we just want to download my Aldo font file. So to do that, it would be git clone https://github.com/mat1/aldo. That's now going to clone the Aldo directory, which has in it the following. It will just have a .git and an Aldo the Apache, which is the font file. Problem solved. Let's back out of this, clear this, and we're moving on to tip number 4, how to tar files. Now, whenever you've downloaded something that's given you the option for Linux, Windows, Macintosh, or you've downloaded something that is on Linux, it will most likely give you the option of .tar.gz. Now, this isn't something that instantly plays well with Windows, but it does play well with anything Macintosh-based or Linux-based, because they just accept it. Now, we will mainly be seeing .tar.gz on Linux operating systems. So, how to make a tar.gz is pretty simple. How about we just zip up we'll zip up the goodbye file. Pretty simple. So to do that, we want to do tar-cvzf. Now let's give it a file name of goodbye.tar.gz. And say I want to tar the goodbye file. Just to confirm, we now have a goodbye.tar.gz, and we'll just remove the goodbye. Now, how to do that? This is pretty simple. It's just rm goodbye. Now, because I didn't make the goodbye file with root permissions as sudo, I don't need to give it root. Now, if you're trying to remove a file that has root permissions, you need to use sudo. It'll just say, hey, look, I can't remove. This is a root. Please use sudo. Problem solved. Now, how do I extract said file. As we can see, we have no goodbye file. This is pretty simple. Most people, this is a not well-known thing, and it took me a while to learn how to get around to extracting files, because I didn't want to extract them. I was just being lazy when I started using Linux, because I was using non-command line. But in the command line, we would use tar goodbye. We want to tar hyphen, I stand corrected, hyphen xvzf goodbye.tar.gz. As we can see, there was an output of goodbye, and here we have a goodbye file. Problem solved. Tip number 6, how to list directories. Now, as you've been seeing, I've been typing ls-li this entire time. That's listing it here. It is just going through and giving me a verbose way of showing how, like, hey, look, here's the permissions, here's the users it's made it, the files inside, the file size, the date, the time, or the month, date, and time of last seen, last used. As we can see, there was February 25th, 2020. Apparently, that's not true though, so I don't know what's up with that. You can change the time with touch, but we're not going to do that today. So we've got ls-la, we have ls, which will just show them like that, just quick, hey look, here's what's here. We have ls-l, which will just go, okay, just shorten the amount of information, the files that are here, that you can see without having, if you were just looking at it inside of a file viewer. ls-la lists everything that's here and visible in the directory. Now, moving on to tip number 7 even, how to move a directory. Now, we'll go somewhere else for this one, so we will go to www.html. This is where the website is currently sat, and we want to move the assets file. So, just to confirm, we have an assets folder. Let's move that somewhere else. So let's do sudo mv assets to one file down into www. So to do that, we just do .. and it says, hey look, please move this one file down. And because I did that with sudo, it needs the password, and this directory needs root permissions anyway, so sudo. And we can go down one, so cd .. saying, hey look, I want to go down one instead of all the way down back to the start. And we list what's here, so we just do ls. We have an assets and a HTML. Now, how do I rename said file? Now, there is no rename function that I know of and that I found over the years. Whenever I've Googled this, there's been no rename function. It's just move the file, give it a different name. It'll be fine. Remove the original. So I'll show you how to do that. So to do that, because we're in a root directory, we need sudo. So I want to sudo move assets to delete, and problem solved. We now have a delete file. Because we moved it, it's just said, okay, I'll move it from here to here, but in actual fact, it's just changed the name of the file. Just like that. Now, how we would rename this, which is tip number 8, how to rename it. Now, we can do that with copy instead of just moving it. Now, if we wanted multiple, so just do copy. So we want to do sudo copy, delete to assets again. Assets. I can't spell, so that's fine. Now, you need to add the -r because you're copying a directory. So this is just saying, hey, look, do this recursively. Hit enter. We now have a assets, delete, and HTML. Now, how do we remove the assets and delete? Because we don't want them there. That's pretty simple. We do sudo remove -recurse r because this is removing the directory and everything inside of it. We give it assets and delete. Now you can delete multiple things at once with this command. You just keep adding on and just keep going. Okay, add the / remove everything here, remove everything here. As long as you give it like that, problem solved. Just say, okay, I'm good. I don't need to do anything else. Moving on to tip number 10. We're halfway through the video, but don't forget to like and subscribe so you can come back and see more videos and have a look at my previous ones. Anyway, let's go back down to the base. So just print working directory. We're in the home for Nginx. So we want to see CPU usage. Now this is a common thing with Windows. Is just right click, open up task, right click the taskbar, open up Task Manager, see what's going on. Task Manager for Macintosh, or if we want to do it for command line for Linux, we can use a tool called HTOP. This is installed pretty much as standard on most Linux operating systems. It's a well-known tool. It just works. It's very nice. It just shows you how much memory is being used, the core clocks, well, the core usages, the swap area, which would be your RAM. I've only assigned this 4 gigs from what this is telling me, and so on. Well, the swap area, it's just, well, the swap area is the written on the drive. Now, swap isn't really needed nowadays because of how fast RAM has become and how capable RAM is now. So swap area is just what gets written on the drive. Now, 10-15 years ago, you might need a swap area written on a drive because of, well, your computer would just absolutely just chew through the RAM. So we have a swap area. Nowadays, we don't see swap getting used much, but it's still there to provide backwards compatibility with older hardware. In this case, we're just using the RAM. It's only using 263 megabytes worth of RAM. It's very, very nice. So we don't need to do anything here anymore, so just go F10. Okay, there is also HTOP. So to do that, we just need to install HTOP. It's going to go through the process of downloading and installing it. And I'm just going to go HTOP, and it gives me a different way of looking at it. It shows me what's being used by what, where, and what's going on. I don't need this. I'm just going to go quit this, give it a clear. Now I'm moving on. Probably wondering, we're moving on to tip number 11. How do I log out of a user? If you want to switch to something else, just simple as log out. I know these things can seem pretty obvious, but then again, if you're new to Linux, these things might not be obvious. But then again, if you're an experienced Linux user, it's always nice to have a little hey look refresher. Now we know how to log out. How to host a website. That's pretty easy. Look at the top right hand corner. You've just seen a card pop up for how to install Nginx. That's one of my previous videos. Go have a look at that. Tip number 13. How to navigate to a directory. Then again, this is easy refresher for experienced Linux users or how to do this for new users. So we want to do cd is to say, hey look, move to XYZ directory. Let's move to var. We're now in the var directory. I'm going to print working directory. We're here in var. Now, of course, there are multiple vars. Apparently, according to this. Well, there isn't. We just go, hey, look, I now want to go back down to where I came from. So I'm just going to cd/var/www. CD is going to move you around wherever you want to go. It's just hey, look, CD is the move. That's it. I'm going to go, okay, I want to go back to where I came from. Just CD. Problem solved. Tip number 14. How to rename a file. I should have covered this earlier on, which I did. So I need to remove that tip. This is just going to stay in the Final Cut. It's a small mistake on my behalf. How to quit Vim. Now, people do use Vim. People like Vim. If you're a new user and you're reading through a tutorial for something and it says use Vim, you're probably wondering, what the hell is Vim and how do I get out of it? So we're just going to go Vim hello. Probably wondering, okay, I'm in Vim. How do I leave? Control C, : right quit. Now, that's pretty easy. Now, if we were to look at Nano, which is also another variation, so just Nano hello, looks different. But Nano actually gives you some sort of explanation of what to do. Now, we see how that little up arrow that is Control X. That's just your control. The little delta arrow is just control. Pretty easy. Moving on to tip number 16, how to open a port. Now, when it comes to messing around with ports and stuff like that, I prefer to use UFW when it comes to this sort of thing, because it's just a simple tool. It's Ubuntu firewall, but you can use it on, as far as I'm aware, you can use it on other Linux variations. So as we have UFW installed, we're just going to do sudo systemctl status UFW. As we can see, we have UFW here, so we're just going to go UFW status, sudo UFW status. It's inactive. That's fine. UFW enable. File's active enabled, and so that'll then kick in to see, hey, look, here's what's going on. Now that UFW is active, we can then just go, okay, so sudo UFW status, just to confirm, hey, look, these are the rules. It is that simple. You can see it's allowing traffic in from port 80 and port 80 with the IPv6 variation from anywhere. Problem solved. Now, if I were to get that traffic from the internet and then just go, hey, look, talk to me, it's like, okay, I want anything that's supposed to be on port 80 to go or any like website or anything. They just go, okay, I have something on port 80 for you. Here you go. Problem solved. That's tip 16 and 17, how to open a port. So, well, I'll show you how to open a port as well, because I didn't actually do it. So UFW allow number 69, for example. Rule added, and just the same again, how to check it. Port 80 and port 69 are open up. It is just that simple to open a port. Tip number 18, how to use touch. Now, again, this is something you may see in various tutorials. I've seen it a few times myself in the past. So I was wondering, what the hell is it? And I'll show you. Touch, the command touch will just go touch C. You're probably wondering, what did that do? Using touch, that can make multiple files. So touch, that's just made 4 files. Touch C, here I am. Now what that does is it makes just empty files. That's all it does. Using the touch command all by itself, it just makes empty files that are, there's nothing there at all. It's just blank, dataless files. As we can see in the 5th column from the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's data and there's just files that have 0. Those are the files made by touch. Simple. It's just what it does, like, hey, look, there's nothing here. That's what touch does. Now, tip number 19, how to use cat. This shows you like the content of the file. So if we would do cat C, doesn't output anything because there's nothing in it. Do cat goodbye, like and subscribe. Don't forget to do that, by the way. And it just shows, it just prints out in the console like, hey, look, here's what's in the file. This is all that's here. Let's do this for a bit more complex files. So we'll go clear and just cd back to the Nginx files and then just go cat me. It shows you everything that's in there without any formatting at all. We just go, okay, here it is. Go. Anyway, that's what we'll say for the time being. We clear out. Probably wondering, the 20th and final tip, how to install something. This is pretty easy. This will depend on your variation of Linux. For anything that is Debian based, it is sudo apt get. So we're just going to go clear, cd back down. So for this case, I want to get the speed test CLI. So to do that, it'll just be sudo apt get speed test -CLI. Apt install even. I stand corrected. It's been a while since I've actually tried to do this for Ubuntu. Ta-da! And we just do speed test. It's then going to go into the background and just do everything speed test wise. Anyway, this has been 20 tips and tricks for Linux on how to use, well, 20 tips and tricks that are that could help you in your daily life when using Linux. I'd like to thank you very much for watching. If you're not already subscribed, maybe consider subscribing, hit the like button so you don't miss out on any future videos. I'd like to thank my Patreons, Raining Hazmat and Ashley, for being subscribed over at Patreon, where you can get early access to videos and custom content. Anyway, I'd like to thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Goodbye.